Alright, so your test tomorrow is on 9.1 through 9.3. I picked a few questions from the review that I wanted to go over. If there's any that I don't go over at the end, I'll come back to those if you want to see them. So looking at number 2, we had a question just like this on the quiz. So it gives you the endpoints of the diameter. So if I was given the endpoints of the diameter and they were here, how would I find the center of my circle? Well, I want to find the midpoint of the 2 points. So I could use the midpoint formula, which is x1 plus x2. The radius would be the distance divided by 2, yes. And then y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So this would be 4 over 2 and 8 over 2, which would be 2, 4. So that would be our h and k. So I can plug those into my formula. I have x minus h, sorry. So x minus 2 squared plus y minus k squared, so y minus 4 squared is equal to r squared. Now how can I find r squared?
You plug in one of the endpoints.
I can plug in one of the endpoints for x and y. So it doesn't matter which one, I'll just pick the first one. So I'm going to plug that into x and y. So x would be -1 and y is 2. So this would be -3 squared plus -2 squared. So 9 plus 4 would be 13. So then I can just plug that back into my standard form. So I have x minus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared is equal to 13, because we found that this was r squared. All right, let's take a look at number 3. Write the equation of the circle in standard form, then identify the center and the radius. So what do I have to do for number 3? I need to organize it. You guys are all right, just one step at a time. So I'll organize it, put the x's together, and then I'm going to have to complete the square. So I'll leave a space there. I'll put my y's together. So plus 24y, and I can add 3 to the other side. All right, so before I complete the square, what do I have to do? Take out a 16. So that has to be done before we complete the square. So I divide out 16, I'm left with x squared minus x. And then what's going to go into that space to complete the square? It'll be b over 2 squared, and my b here is -1, so -1 over 2 squared. So when I write my parentheses squared down here, it'll be x minus 1/2 squared. And then don't forget, you got to put that 16 on the outside if we took it out. So -1 over 2 squared would be 1 over 4. So I'm adding 1 over 4 here. Before I add it to the other side, what do I have to do? I have to multiply it by the 16 out front. So times 16, this would be 4. So I'm adding 4 on the left side. I got to add 4 to the right side too.
Take out 16, the second equation.
So for the second equation, I do the same thing. I'm going to take out 16 first. So I'm left with y squared plus 3 over 2y.
3 over 2 squared.
So then in here, it should be 3 over 2 divided by 2 squared. So 3 over 2 divided by 2, we could keep change flip. So that would be 3 over 4 squared. So in my parentheses squared down here, I have a 16 on the outside, y plus 3 over 4 squared. 3 over 4 squared would be 9 over 16, and then I have to multiply that times 16 because I took out that 16. So this would just be 9. So I'm adding 9 to the right side also. So on the right, I have 3 plus 4 plus 9, which is 16.
You just divide normally 16.
And then we divide everything by 16. Why did I divide by 16?
Because it needs to be 1.
For a circle, does it need to be 1?
No, you don't, but
I need my coefficients here to be 1. I can't have any numbers in front, so that's why I divide by 16. So then this would be x minus 1/2 squared plus y plus 3/4 squared is equal to 1. So here it just so happened that our r squared is 1. It doesn't have to be 1 for a circle to be equal to something. So for 6, we have to find the vertex, focus, and directrix of the parabola and sketch its graph. So here we have a parabola. We want to put it in standard form. What should I do first to put this in standard form?
add y squared both sides.
I can add y squared to both sides. Oops.
4x equals y squared.
So 4x equals y squared. I'm used to seeing the squared number on the left, but I can just switch the order, so it'll be y squared is equal to 4x. Same thing. So this would be my standard form. What's my vertex here?
0, 0.
Perfect. Vertex is 0, 0. Because I'm not adding anything to the y, I'm not adding anything to the x. I can graph it to help me find the rest of them. So 0, 0 is my vertex. Is this going to be a graph that opens up or opens down or left or right?
Opens right.
It opens right more specifically because y squared means it opens left or right, but my p is positive, so it's going to open to the right. So remember, this number here is 4 times p, so 4 is equal to 4p. So what is just p?
1.
1. So p is equal to 1. What is p?
Or 1, 0.
But p is what? Like, what does it give
The
us?
distance from the vertex to the foci.
The distance from
And
these
Or the
directrix.
vertex to the foci
And the directrix.
and the directrix. So the foci, the focus, because we only have one here, would be what? 1, 0, because we just went to the right one. And then my directrix would be 1 to the left. So it would be x equals -1. All right, for 7, we'd find the standard form of the equation of the parabola with the given characteristics. So I like to graph it first. You don't have to. So I'm going to put my vertex at 0, 0. My focus is at 4, 0. So which way does my graph open?
To the right.
It opens to the right because it's like a little bowl and your focus is inside the bowl. So because it opens to the right, am I going to have x squared or y squared?
Y squared.
Y squared
With a positive p.
with a positive p. And what is my p?
4.
So in my equation, it's 4 times p
Which is 16.
times x minus h. But what's my h?
0.
0. And what's p? 4, because that's the distance from the vertex to the foci. So that would be 4. So this would be y squared is equal to 16 times x. So number 9, we're moving on to ellipses. So I have to find the center, vertices, foci. Don't worry about the eccentricity. You won't be asked about that on the test.
Why'd you put it there?
I didn't make the review.
What's even the point of the eccentricity?
Well, they could give you the eccentricity and then it's C over A. So then you would know what your C is and what your A is. And you'd be able to find other things. So it'd be like giving you the directrix and the vertex. It's just like another thing that they could give you. So what's my center here? -1, comma 2. And what else does it ask for? The vertices and foci. So I can graph my center. So go to the left one, up 2. How do I find my vertices? A and B. But which one's my A here? 49 is my a. So for ellipses, the bigger denominator is your a squared. Is my ellipse going to be a vertical ellipse or a horizontal ellipse? Vertical, because my a is under the y, so it's going to be vertical. So that means I'm going to go up and down 7. So I go up 7 and down 7. Anytime that it says vertices, it's just talking about the major ones.
If they asked you for the vertices, would you put the co-vertices too?
Unless it asks for the co-vertices, but vertices, it's always talking about the major or just like the main vertices. It'll be specific if it says co-vertices. All right, so then our vertices here would be what?
It would be
Negative 1, 9, and
-1, -5.
-1, -5. So we just added and subtracted 7 to our y. And then it also asks for the foci. What do I need to find the foci? I need C. So how do I find C? C squared equals A squared minus B squared. Remember, for ellipses, it's minus. So we don't know what C squared is yet. A squared is 49. B squared is 25. So this one is B squared. So C squared is equal to what? 24. So we take the square root.
2,
So this breaks down to 4 and 6. So it would be 2 square root 6. Awesome. The foci gets added to the y also because that goes on the major axis. So it'll be 2 plus or minus 2 square root 6. We have to find the standard form of the equation of the ellipse with the given characteristics. So let's graph it just to see what we have. So I'm going to go to the left 3, stay on 0, to the right 7, stay on 0. And I also have the foci, which is 0, 0, and 4, 0. So we know it's horizontal. So horizontal means that the A is going to go under the x squared. What's my center? It'd be 0, 2. You can find the midpoint. Yeah, 2, 0. You can find the midpoint of your vertices or the midpoint of the foci, or you can just look at it and see where that center is. So our center would be 2, 0. So I have x minus 2 squared plus y squared. And I need to find my a and b. So a is the distance from what?
The center to the major vertices.
The center to the major vertices. So I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a is 5. So what is a squared? 25. And we know that that's going under the x because this is a horizontal ellipse. And then I also have C because C is the distance from what? From the center to the foci. So C is 2. So how do I find B? So C squared is equal to A squared minus B squared. So A would be 25 and minus B squared. So we can subtract 25 on both sides. So B squared is equal to 21. Take the square root. We don't really need to take the square root here because B squared is what's going into our equation. So what is B squared? 21. All right, so 11, it's an ellipse, and we have to put it in standard form. So that means I have to complete the square. So I'm going to put my x terms together. 3x squared plus 12x. And my y terms together, so 8y squared minus 112y. And then move that 403 to the other side, so minus 403. What do I have to do first before I complete the square? I have to take out the 3. So I have 3x squared plus 4x. And what's going to be my b over 2 squared? So 4 over 2 squared, which would be 2 squared. So in my parentheses squared here, I have x plus 2. And then a 3 on the outside. So I'm adding 4 here. But what do I have to do that for? Multiply it by 3. So I need to add 12 to the right side too. Now let's do the same thing for the y's. So what do I have to do first for the y's? Take out the 8. So I have 8y squared minus, what is 112 divided by 8? 14y. So then in my space here, I have negative 14 over 2 squared. So that would be negative 7 squared. So in my parentheses squared over here, I would have plus 8 times y minus 7 squared. And since I'm adding 49 in here, I would have to multiply this times 8. And what's 49 times 8? 441? So plus 441. So then I would add all 3 of these together. So I get 38 plus 12, which would be 50.
Yeah, the problem I had was when I was dividing it, because 3 and 8 don't divide evenly by 50.
So this should be 392 minus 403 plus 12. And you would get 1. So this should be 1. The numbers on the test are doable without a calculator, so it wouldn't be anything this big, but you guys could always write it down. 49 times 8. It's definitely possible. Nope, no calculators.
So then what do you do about the numbers on the outside?
So you can make them a fraction just so we can see what our a and b are, or a squared and b squared in our denominator. So to rewrite this, it would be x plus 2 squared over 1 over 3 plus y minus 7 squared over 1 over 8 equals 1. So that way this is our a squared, and this one's our b squared. So 14, we need to find the standard form of a hyperbola. So I'm going to graph it. We have vertices at plus or minus 4, 0. So I go to the right 4. I'm going to go to the left 4. And foci at plus or minus 6. So what is my center? 0, 0. So in my equation, I'm going to have, well, actually, I don't know if x squared or y squared comes first. How can I figure that out? Well, how do I know which one's going to be positive? Because remember, this is a minus in the middle, so it depends which one comes first, the x squared or the y squared.
If the x squared comes first, then it's a horizontal one. If the y squared comes
So is this a horizontal?
Yeah.
Yeah, my transverse axis is horizontal, so that means x squared is going to come first. So it'll be, because all my points are on that horizontal line. So y squared comes second, it's equal to 1. So again, I just have to find my a and b. What's a? A is the distance from the center to the vertex, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means a is 4, so a squared would be 16. In hyperbolas, your a squared always comes first. We have c, which is 6, because that is the distance from the center to the foci. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Awesome. So here we're going to do c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So this would be 36 is equal to 16 plus b squared. B squared is equal to 20, which which I don't even need to take the square root because I'm just going to plug that right into my equation there. And that's my answer. So since this one is horizontal, it'd be b over a times x minus h. So if we plugged in everything, it would be y equals k is 0. B would be the square root of 20, which would be 2 square root 5 over 4. So 2 square root 5 over 4 times x. And we could simplify this. Yes. So that would be my asymptote. Right. For the next one, we have to find the standard form of the equation of the hyperbola, find the center, vertices, foci, and we don't have to worry about eccentricity. So just center, vertices, foci, and standard form. So what do I have to do first to get number 16 to be in standard form? Divide everything by 20. So this gives me y squared over 4 minus x squared over 5 equals 1. Is this standard form? Yes. What's my center? My center would be 0, 0. One reminder, always remember which one's first, because if I had, like if this wasn't 0, 0 and you were adding something to x, that's your h. The h always goes with the x. So even if the order's switched and the y comes first, it's still h with the x and k with the y. A lot of people made that mistake on the quiz. So just always keep in mind that h goes with the x. So next, let's find the vertices. So here it's just talking about the major vertices. I'm going to put my center at 0, 0. What gives me the major vertices? A, and what's my a here? A would be 2, because this is a squared. So a is 2. Well, which way am I going to? Up and down, because y squared is first. So I go up 2 and down 2. So my vertices would be 0, 2 and 0, negative 2. Then foci is my c. So how do I find c here? C squared equals a squared plus b squared. C squared equals 4 plus 5. So c squared is equal to 9. So c is 3. So 3 is the distance from the center to the foci. How did I know that I go up and down for the foci? Because they're on that transverse axis. Perfect. So my foci would be 0, 3 and 0, negative 3. All right, let's look at 18 and 19. So here we have to classify the graph of the equation as a circle, parabola, ellipse, or hyperbola. So how can I tell if this is a circle, parabola, ellipse, or hyperbola? What do I have to look at? I look at the a and c. So what's my a here? 3. So a is the coefficient in front of the x squared. What's c? 2, the coefficient in front of the y squared. What do I do with those? Multiply them or see if they're equal. So I multiply them and I get 6. 6 is greater than 0, so what does that mean? It's an ellipse. For 19, what numbers am I looking at here? 5 and negative 2. So if they're not the same, I multiply them. Negative 10, which is less than 0, so what type of conic do I have here? Hyperbola. And let's say our x squared and our y squared were the same numbers. So let's say I had 5x squared plus 5y squared. What type of conic would this be? A circle. Let's say one of my squared terms was missing. So if I just had 5x squared plus 2y plus 4x, it would be a parabola. So if I only had one squared term, it would be a parabola.